I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I don't understand, like, him emphasizing the fact that he had his nannies, his wife, his children. We've already determined that Epstein's world was debauchery personified, right? So are we to assume because you're emphasizing, yeah, I have nannies, I have my kids, my wife, all that different stuff. First off, the dude's a pedophile, so highlighting that you had your kids around a pedophile, not the greatest move.
Brother,
But also highlighting that you had nannies, other couples with you that you may have been able to leave the kids with the nanny while you went and engaged in whatever debauchery, right?
what do you mean by that?
Look, I don't know why he thinks that emphasizing that. I know he thinks it's proof of his innocence or how innocent this interaction was, but I don't think that's what it does. At least not for me.
Stop it. Get some help.
What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Trey.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Back at it with another video.
Another one.
First and foremost, thanks to everybody that's been subscribing to the channel. Thanks for everybody that's been reacting, hitting me up in the comments, engaging with the content. Obviously, I'm a new YouTuber, so it helps push the videos and helps me continue to grow. But yeah, while y'all are here, make sure that y'all are dropping comments, liking the video, share it with your people if you learned something. And yeah, if you're first timers, go ahead, take some time, hit that subscribe button. Don't cost you anything, and it helps me continue to grow. Today, we're going to be reacting to another video from Raging Moderates. Actually, I'm not sure if I have reacted to any of their videos yet. So if I haven't, Raging Moderates is a podcast with Jessica Tarlov and Scott Galloway, I believe his name is. And this video, they go over a lot of different stuff, but we're going to be reacting to the part about the Howard Lutnick testimony, right? You know, the fact that he was not under oath, and yeah, we'll let them get into it, but this is madness. Obviously, this dude should be held accountable for lying. He shouldn't be in the administration anymore, but who are we kidding? Nobody's going to be held accountable for any of this stuff anytime soon, and it's just more proof of how corrupt our system is and how flawed it is. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video.
Let's talk about Epstein.
Okay, so let's move from one crisis overseas to another one back at home that seems to be picking at a scab constantly, which I think is a good thing. A federal judge has unsealed a disturbing note allegedly written by Jeffrey Epstein before his first apparent suicide attempt in jail. Trump Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick faced tough questions on Capitol Hill over his past ties to Epstein after newly released.
Real quick, what do y'all think about the letter? Like, do y'all believe it was him? Do y'all believe it might be some sort of staged letter? And how weird is the letter, right? Like him not highlighting, underlining, not fun in a suicide. Like, just a weird cadence, weird to underline things in a suicide note. And the fact that nobody ever mentioned a note that I remember when he actually died, and now we're this many years after the fact, and like, oh yeah, there was a note, and here's the note. We'll get it out to you quick. There's a note. Here's the note. Surprise. Whatever. I just think it's convenient, and it's also stupid at the same time.
Records contradicted earlier public statements. Lutnick testified before the Senate back in February, where he admitted having visited Epstein's island.
Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I don't understand, like, him emphasizing the fact that he had his nannies, his wife, his children. We've already determined that Epstein's world was debauchery personified, right? So are we to assume because you're emphasizing, yeah, I have nannies, I have my kids, my wife, all that different stuff. First off, the dude's a pedophile, so highlighting that you had your kids around a pedophile, not the greatest move.
Brother,
But also highlighting that you had nannies, other couples with you, that you may have been able to leave the kids with the nanny while you went and engaged in whatever debauchery, right?
what do you mean by that?
Look, I don't know why he thinks that emphasizing that. I know he thinks it's proof of his innocence, or how innocent this interaction was, but I don't think that's what it does, at least not for me.
Stop it. Get some help.
His testimony yesterday before the House Oversight Committee wasn't taped, but here's Virginia Congressman Suhas Subramaniam on how it went.
Howard Lutnick should resign. That was absolutely mind-boggling what we just heard in the room. He was evasive, nervous, he was dishonest. And then he said that Jeffrey Epstein was a sick man, that he would never want to be in the room with him again. Yet he was in the room with him again when he visited his island where Jeffrey Epstein raped women, underage women, and he brought his kids and his friends with him to that island. And finally, he doesn't remember why he went to Jeffrey Epstein's island, which is also mind-boggling. He somehow remembers going to the island after pictures surfaced of him being at the island, but he doesn't remember why he went to the island. And we had the emails.
And what did they do at this island? The island was for parties. We as the public and them as the committee, right? They obviously know why he went. He went to party. Why can't he just say that? I think that's more alarming than anything else, right? So you got caught in a lie, so you had to admit that you went. But then to say you don't remember why you went, when we all know why you went, right? So like, we already know the answer. So it's like, my kids, when my kids lie, right? Or try and act ignorant, like, oh, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. When they like obviously know what the answer is, you know what I mean? Yeah, for those of y'all that are parents, you know what I'm talking about. You obviously know what I mean, or what the answer to the question is, and I know what the answer to the question is. I'm just asking you so you say it out loud and we can address the situation.
Why you asking all these questions?
For him to act like he doesn't know why he went to the island is ridiculous. We know exactly why you went to the island. You was trying to have a party. If you were really innocent, you know what I'm saying? You'd be like, look, man, he threw good parties. We hung out with them, but I wasn't into all the other stuff. Still crazy, right? You still have to own whatever blowback comes from that statement. But to act as if you don't know or you don't remember, that is just furthering all the conspiracy and all the corruption, right? And the lies.
That's why we found out he was at the island. This is absolutely absurd, and he should resign.
I don't know what to say about this. Lutnick is a liar. He lied in a public forum like that already, contradicting himself. There are photos of him with Epstein and 2 other men, one of whom I think worked at Cantor Fitzgerald with him. Like, he obviously didn't spend the whole time with his wife and kids and nannies and all of them. Also, it was, 2012? Like, people knew who Jeffrey Epstein was at that point. He had already been convicted. Why are you bringing your children and your wife and your nanny there for lunch anyway? The Democratic Congress people who interviewed him yesterday, and we should note, it was not videotaped, and multiple of them noted that that was a good thing because Donald Trump would have freaked out if he had seen how sweaty and nervous he was the entire time. He also wasn't under oath, so can't really take any of this that seriously. But Congresswoman Ansari said, after what we've seen so far in this transcribed interview, I feel very comfortable saying that Howard Lutnick is a pathological liar who is enabling the most egregious cover-up in American history. And Walkinshaw said what we heard was hours of testimony where Lutnick was attempting to redefine the meaning of the word I. He claims that when he said, I would never be in a room again with Jeffrey Epstein, he meant only him and Jeffrey Epstein alone.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
So that's where he's landed at. That's what the lawyers and his PR or whatever team, crisis management team came up with, emphasizing the I. Like, come on, like these people are not serious people. It's all a big game. It's all a big mockery of the system. Like to try and get that off, like that's the hill. Like what I really meant was that I alone wouldn't be in a room with them, and because of that, I never lied.
Well, if other people are there with you and Jeffrey Epstein. So I feel like if you don't have these people under oath, if there isn't some repercussion for lying, then it just doesn't matter at this point. The suicide note, where are you on it? I know that the handwriting matches a lot of other Epstein stuff, and a few of the key phrases that have shown up in his emails were in there, but like, I don't know. I don't know if I believe it, and I'm trying also not to be a conspiracy theorist about the whole thing.
So just with respect to Lutnick, I mean, it is somewhat ironic that everyone's outraged about Lutnick. He may, in fact, take a fall for this. His involvement, whatever it is or wasn't, or how he's downplaying it, or how we know he's downplaying it. We know he's lying.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that he might take a fall for what it seems obviously to me to be a fraction of the involvement, intimacy, friendship, and contact that the president had over years and years and years with Jeffrey Epstein. The thing I take away of the learning is the following. This is just a prime example of crisis management totally gone wrong. And that is because Trump can get away with just lying and denying everything and take a page out of the playbook of Roy Cohn and like never back down, never apologize, attack. Other people think they can get away with the same thing, and they can't. They don't have the Jedi skills of lying, and they aren't Jim Jones. They don't have the cult worship that Trump has that enables him to pull.
And that's what it is. I'm glad he ended up saying cult worship, because that is the armor that Trump has at this point. It's because he has so much of a cult following. Nobody is thinking critically or rationally about his involvement, and therefore, like, a lot of people get protection because of their proximity to him. Lutnick, at this point, he shouldn't, right? He shouldn't, based on how guilty he comes off and the fact that he's already been caught in one lie. But again, like, all of these other people, like, you know, his best friend that Melania's friend just kind of blew the whistle on here lately, like all the other people that have been identified via the release of the files. Lutnick is one single person, right? There's only one person that went to jail. Well, two people that went to jail. One is already dead, and the other one is in jail and got switched over to. All that to say is, like, one person currently has been held accountable. So if y'all want to get me to believe that Lutnick is potentially, that's what they're talking about, is going to potentially take a fall, and I don't know what kind of a fall it would be, but a fall for his, what they can prove, and all they can prove is that he went to the island, it's going to be a slap on the wrist. We're never going to get the true nature of the what actually is in the Epstein files, and nobody's really going to be held accountable for it because of that. It's way too many powerful people obviously involved with it, and we've seen how they have been able to manipulate the system to delude, and you're never going to be able to convict anybody in a court based on, you know, how things have been done so far. And if you still believe that the evidence of these crimes still exists, Like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that evidence exists. They recessed Congress multiple different times to try and to try and whip votes to never let these files see the light of day. Then they finally knew that they were going to be losing the majority on that issue. And they released the files, but then they delayed for months to release the files, and they tried to redact a whole bunch of people's names and released a whole bunch of information about the survivors. Like, every move that they have made has been to show you the fix is already in. And it's unfortunate because people aren't mad enough about it. And back to the original point, it's because of the cult following of the base. They can get them to believe anything as long as they just lie blatantly over and over again until their base starts to believe that it's true.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
Don't forget that he called people stupid for wanting to see the Epstein files, and that they are not truly his supporters if they really believe the Epstein file hoax or an Epstein hoax. Like, and he keeps saying, "Oh, it's all on the other side." I know. I'm sorry I went on a rant, but that's, that's what I'm here for, because this is ridiculous.
Pull this type of lying off. So the rules of traditional crisis management apply to everyone else, and they're the following. One, you acknowledge the problem. Yeah, I knew this guy, convicted felon, pedophile. I can understand why people are suitably freaked out about any association with him, especially among a cabinet member. I 100% get it. Two, I take responsibility. I thought, Jeffrey Epstein at the time was hanging out with everyone from Bill Gates to Bill Clinton, MIT scientists, was a philanthropist. I thought that he might be helpful to my business. I thought that, I might be able to raise money from him. I was in the business of gathering assets. He seemed like a power broker, a power player. The people around him oozed of credibility, the most credible people in the world. I engaged in this. I wanted to be his friend. But, assuming this is true, I didn't do anything resembling trafficking of young women. I was not engaged in sex with girls. I apologize. It was an error in judgment. I am guilty of this error in judgment, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again. I think if he'd said the following, he would have probably gotten, the Democrats would have hit him on the wrist and asked for his resignation and and would have filtered up. But I think this would be over at this point because so many people have appeared to have done so much worse who have had absolutely nothing happen to him. The thing about Martha Stewart wasn't sent to prison for insider trading. She was sent to prison. By the way, she made a whole $40,000 in profit. She was sent to prison for lying to federal investigators. It's always the cover-up that gets you in trouble. You, one, acknowledge the problem. Two, you take responsibility personally. And three, you overcorrect. It's so obvious. It's proven through time this is the way to go. And yet everyone still makes the same mistake. They deny, they diminish, they don't take responsibility, they don't say they're going to change their behavior. And this is playing out. This guy is literally unwinding. And what's just so interesting is he may end up taking the fall for what is, again, a fraction of the depravity, weirdness association that his boss has clearly been guilty of.
That advice, I love that advice. You try to live by that advice. Do you think Trump would accept that, though? I mean, that's the thing. I think he's just going to get fired no matter, it's like even worse to admit it, Yeah,
if he said I was wrong, Trump would be like, that's not how we operate
you're
around
weak.
Here.
Get out of here with Kristi Noem and Pam.
That's a fair point. You never acknowledge the point. You never back down. That is a fair point. With respect to the Epstein note, the most interesting thing about the note is how sort of emotionally ordinary it sounds. And I can see why these two were really good friends. It's not a confession of remorse. It reads as defensive, sarcastic, and more kind of it reeks of grievance, so in quotes, found nothing. Another quote, what you want me to do? Bust out crying? And then I thought the most
Again, like I said, it reads like a Trump Truth Social, so it's pretty weird. Them talking about the handwriting matches, it just reads weird. Obviously, I didn't know the guy, so I don't know how he wrote, and I haven't seen letters that he wrote and emails. I've seen some of the emails and stuff like that, but doesn't make any sense. Again, years later, this is found nothing, all that. This is crazy. I don't believe it. Sorry, call me crazy.
Another quote, "What you want me to do? Bust out crying?" And then I thought the most illuminating line in the whole thing, assuming it's real, and it felt real to me, is, quote, "It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye." In other words, he's saying the insight here is it hints that losing status and control may have mattered more to him than death itself. And then the other thing is, it's just weird. Like his cellmate found it, but not investigators, which is going to give rise to a lot of conspiracy theories. But when I read it, I don't know about you, it felt real to me. Your thoughts?
Yeah, like it comps with, like I said, the handwriting and other phrases that he had used in his emails. I do think if I were Jeffrey Epstein, I probably would have wanted to go out on my own terms, because you know that you have ended up in a place unimaginable for how high you had been, right? Like the level of access that you have to all the most powerful people in American business and government, and really on a global scale. So if you're like sitting in a cell, you're probably thinking, I don't know if it's going to be MI6, Mossad, CIA, or whoever is going to take me out, but like I'm going. So the sentiment resonates, but also even like Julie K. Brown, who, you know, shout out for the late Pulitzer mention this year for her work. She said, yeah, you're not a conspiracy theorist for saying that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. So
it would seem obvious, wouldn't it? If we found out that someone had him off, some billionaire who was on those planes, whatever.
It's not even some billionaire. I mean, there are all sorts of ways that you could get to this, right? It could be someone within the government, right?
Yeah,
I mean, and there are longtime connections in both administrations, right, to Jeffrey Epstein, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Andrew, right? I mean, he's very linked to Mossad and powerful Israelis. Like, there are a lot of people that wanted Jeffrey Epstein to die. So, I don't know. The note, it's like catnip for all of this. It does revive it to some degree. But I guess it just continues to put in focus the fact that these survivors have not gotten what they need out of this whatsoever. And they're getting treated like pawns continually in this process. You know, with Melania out there with her statement, like, you know, I'm not a victim. This is about the victims. And Trump saying, yeah, of course, I don't care if they testify. Like, it's all bullshit. These poor women, you know, who are getting pushed back and forth as, like I said, like pawns in this. That's what is the real story.
So we're going to let Jessica have the last word on this one. I just wanted to mainly highlight the testimony of Howard Lutnick and how that guy's a complete, utter trash human being. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Again, this is only a portion of their pod. Go to Raging Moderates if y'all want to see the rest of it. And yeah, if y'all learned something from the video, make sure y'all share the video with your people. Keep the information flowing. Keep the conversation going. And until next time, I'll holla at you.
Wanna be my enemy? I pop out, they go wild, so celebrity. Too busy winning, I forgot that I got frenemies.